Hello, this is Xbox Ahoy, and this is the bonus footage from my time with the Mark 48, and also later on with the Reflex Sight. Kind of a two-in-one, so a little bit longer this week, which is good. I'll be taking your comments from both the weapon guide video and the attachment guide video, so, you know, if you've left a comment on either of those, there's a chance you'll crop up in the bonus video. So anyway, on with the questions. Flawless Cowboy HD says, Stu, I like the way you have designed these videos to look like the ones you did for MW2. What prompted you to change back to the design of these videos? Well, the Black Ops 2 design isn't quite the same as the MW2 videos. I think everything is a little bit cleaner, a little bit more polished, but there is a parallel sort of to each of those. One of my sort of internal complaints with the Black Ops series, one of my sort of criticisms that I had of myself for the videos that I did for Black Ops, was that, I don't know, maybe I was a little bit detached from the game theme, and the slides themselves were a little bit inconsistent in terms of layout. So I wanted to have something that was a little bit more rigid and, you know, styled as per the game to sort of give it a reinforced sense of branding. The Black Ops 2 slides are also, like I say, they're very rigid, and they're much easier to reproduce than the Black Ops ones. The fake letter sections of the Black Ops videos, they looked cool, but they were an incredible pain to put together. They took an awful long time, a couple of hours just for those few slides. So, I designed the Black Ops 2 series with a definite sort of sense of reproducibility and efficiency in mind. 12 Viet now says, Hey Stu, I'm headed to England soon. I'll be around the London area. Do you have any suggestions of places for me to visit that aren't touristy? Also, have you tried Arrogant Bastard Ale? I haven't, but I've heard it's pretty good. I'm not actually that familiar with London. I've only been a few times in my life. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't know. I don't mind like cities like Manchester, but London is just nothing but sprawl. So I don't know. I don't know what to suggest. To be honest, if it's your first time visiting, there's probably nothing wrong with doing the usual touristy stuff. So, you know, have fun, knock yourself out. As far as Arrogant Bastard Ale, I haven't. No, I don't think I've had any of the bastards. I haven't found anywhere that sells it, but if I see it, I'll pick it up, of course. Subject name here, 96, says, Stuart, do you use the wildcards a lot? I'm a big fan of the primary gunfighter wildcard. I like to have attachments on my weapons. In fact, I'll quite often forego grenades, tactical equipment, and stuff like that in favour of attachments. Because, you know, I like to have the benefits like, well, the laser sight or steady aim, in addition to sleight of hand, and, you know, it's good to have a mix of stuff. And I always like FMJ. I'm a big fan of FMJ. So yes, primary gunfighter, definitely one of my favourites, and it's actually one of my permanent unlocks. I appreciate it's unlocked about level 25, 20-something anyway. So it's not a huge step, but for those first 20 levels, I like to have 3 attachments on my gun. Otherwise, I'll use the perk greed wildcards, but in most cases, I'm spending points on stuff that directly affects the gun. Ultimate Game Boy 123 says, Hi Stu, what do you think about the new YouTube? Is it bad stuff, or do you like it? I don't mind it too much, actually. I mean, as long as I can upload videos and as long as you guys can watch them, that's really all YouTube needs to do. Everything else is just a bonus. The new layout is cleaner. I like that. Some people are complaining about the white space and how everything's left aligned, but so make your window smaller, you know. Mind you, I tend to run at quite a large res. I've got 2 monitors at 2560 by 1600, so I don't run my windows full screen. Because everything would be white space, everything would be useless, so I tend to run my windows smaller, so I can adjust them to fit YouTube more comfortably, which is what I do. So everything's gravy for me, but I can understand if you're on a laptop, then you're probably more likely to run full screen. But otherwise, no, it's fine. I mean, in my 8 years as a professional web developer, one of the things I learned is that no matter what you change, someone will hate it. And not just hate it a little bit, they will hate it worse than anything. Like, genocide? Fine. This minor change to this website I use, it's the worst thing ever. And, I mean, ultimately, you have to have faith in Google. Google know what they're doing. Google know better than you. I'll be quite honest with you. They know precisely what they're up to, and it's going to ultimately benefit them. And what benefits them benefits YouTube as a whole. So, you know, have some faith. You'll get used to it, and everything will be gravy. Nobody talks about the good things, do they? Nobody talks about the fact that comments look pretty nifty now with a little image next to them. And nobody talks about the fact you can upload a thumbnail before the video's finished processing, which is that's something I really like. No, instead everybody's complaining about how everything's different and oh, there's a bit of white space to the right of my screen. Oh, I don't mind. It's fine. It's fine. They're going to change it again within a couple of years, you know. And you're all going to complain again. Alright, talking about the Mark 48. The Overgangster says, I like lightweight, dexterity, and quick draw to negate the bad CQB. Well, that's certainly one philosophy I see quite often with people using the LMGs, is they try and round them out to make them more like assault rifles or even SMGs. But, I don't know, I think you've got to embrace the true nature of the weapon. With the LMGs, if you add lightweight, dexterity, and quick draw, you're still going to get destroyed in close quarters by an SMG. Even an SMG, no perks, no attachments, is going to destroy you. The LMGs, the Mark 48 especially, is designed for long-range lockdown. That's what it's good at. And it is really good at that. The 3-hit kill range on this thing is insane. It really is. I think some of the LMGs do suit kind of a more aggressive style of play. Like the QBB, I think that has the fastest fire rate. That one, I think, would do pretty well in closer quarters. I think, I don't know, I might even go for a build with a laser sight on that. But we'll see. I need to actually test this. But I have a suspicion that the QBB's faster rate of fire will make it better up close. But no, with the Mark 48, you want to go long, you want to go loud, and you want to go through as many walls as possible. Definitely very strong across longer sight lines and in a primarily defensive role. That's what LMGs are for. Forey Smith says, I noticed you had both Ronin and carbon fiber camo. Did you get gold camo for this gun? I did. I think I actually used it gold in the Reflex video. But yeah, I'm trying to guild every single gun as I go along. And, you know, maybe some of you guys could join me. It could be like a weekly thing. You know, we could all guild the gun together. What fun. Oh. But I'm hoping by the end of this Weapon Guide season to have the primary, the primary mastery player card background, which is basically gold with every single primary weapon. There's one for the secondary weapons as well, which I'll probably aim to get. Unfortunately, I don't think there is one for the union of both primary and secondary weapons, which is a shame, because there should be, because that is quite an achievement in itself. AK-40FF says, Carlsberg, Tuborg, or Heineken. I'd sooner have a beer if that's alright with you. Ho ho! No, they're all pretty terrible, terrible lagers. I mean, they're not super terrible, but the Danish do some good stuff. They've got a pretty good brewing tradition. I mean, Carlsberg is part of their brewing tradition, but their sort of Carlsberg export lager is pretty unspectacular. It's, you know, it's cheap. That's one of its key attributes. But no, my favourite Danish brewer would be Mikla. They do some wonderful stuff. They're a gypsy brewer, they're not comprised of gypsies. They are gypsy brewer uses other brewing facilities to make their beer. So they kind of they brew in a whole bunch of different places. But they do some very nice stuff. They're very experimental. Heineken are, of course, Dutch. Dutch brewing, they do have some good stuff. I haven't had many good Dutch brews, though. A lot of their stuff is export lagers again. I think the south of the Netherlands has pretty good brewing traditions. I think my favourite Dutch beer is probably from Le Trap, which is the only Dutch Trappist brewery. They do some good stuff. I do like the Trappist style. It's more Belgian in style, but it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Delicious. And I'm sure around that region there's probably some other good stuff from the Netherlands. The Flemish, the Netherlands, those lowlanders in general, they make good beer. Jonah Vesterveld says, Hi Stu, I was wondering what is your favourite camo in Black Ops 2? Well, I like getting gold, because that means I can stop recording with the weapon. But other than that, I think carbon fibre is pretty nice. That's a good one. Cherry Blossom is cute, and all of the post Ghost Tex ones, all of the later unlocks are pretty nice. I'm a little bit disappointed with the two last headshot unlocks, the Ghost Tex and the Crypt Tech. They barely show on the gun. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen them a little bit more extravagant, you know? Blue Tiger's nice. Bloodshot's very nice. It's like Urban from MW2. But yeah, the last two headshot unlocks are disappointing, to say the least. MW2 and AC6 for the win, says Dear Xbox Ahoy. Why do you capture so much usable footage? Is it for the bonus Q&A session on your second channel? Not really. The bonus footage is just that. It's excess clips. I record for so long in Black Ops 2 I'm trying to guild every gun, and I record as much of that as I can. And Now, the longer I record, the better the standard of the clips that will make it into the weapon guide. And, you know, while the weapon guides aren't exactly a montage or anything like that, I wouldn't like to sort of put such an appellation on them, but no, I think it's more satisfying to watch a higher standard of footage than it would be to watch more regular stuff. So, you know, recording for longer gives me a better yield of clips. Like with the SVU, I recorded for about, it took me ages to get gold on that thing. I think I recorded about maybe 7 hours, and during that time I had a pretty good yield. I think I got 3 quads. Quad is like, that's like the platinum standard. Triple's gold standard. But quads are, you know, of a different tier altogether. So I do like to get a few quads. I think I've got a couple of collaterals as well. And generally snipers have a lower yield in terms of clips. Like if I'm running an SMG in free-for-all, I'm going to pick up like a few Fury kills, a few super kills and stuff like that. And I could probably do that within relatively few games of free-for-all. But sniper clips are a little bit more rarefied, which is, you know, why they are kind of the go-to weapon for montage makers. It's that kind of all-or-nothing approach. Either you get the kill or you don't. Anyway, more clips recorded means better clips overall for the weapon guide, or the weektage, if you'd like. Cam Soldier 18 says, Stu, communism or fascism? Which do you prefer? Oh my word, really, fascism? Nobody in their right mind would say, oh yes, I prefer fascism. Fascism is definitely my preferred form of government. Nothing has ever gone wrong with fascism. I mean, it's not like even communism doesn't have an exactly clean record here. I mean, these are both fairly extreme forms of government. Of the two, I would probably have to choose communism, but, well, we all know what happened with the Soviet Union, and not all of it was pretty. But thankfully, we live in a fairly rational world where most politics are fairly moderate, as you know, compared to these extremes. I'm a centrist at heart, but really, I mean, I don't have any sort of problems with liberalism or even some aspects of conservatism. I mean, I wouldn't want to identify with the American Republican of today, but, well, that's not entirely because of the politics behind them. Anyway, politics is boring, moving on. Joseph Perslow says, Stu, this is an important question. Jaffa cakes or Tunnock's tea cakes? Well, I'm going to qualify this by saying that Jaffa cakes are fantastic, and you should all try them if you haven't tried them, because they're brilliant. They've got a smashing orangey bit. But, controversially, I'm going to side with the Tunnock's tea cakes, because they are also very, very nice, and I like the marshmallow. In fact, anything that Tunnock's do, man, caramel wafers and stuff like that, brilliant. Snowballs, brilliant. I think that's all they make. Well, they make a couple of other things, but they're all good. Ganger Slayer says, lol, is this video a joke? I can't tell. I think this comment is actually quite deep. I mean, is my video series a joke? Is anything really serious? Man, that's some deep stuff from Ganger Slayer right there. I mean, maybe my videos are a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Maybe. I don't even know anymore. Pick My Perk asks, you can have dinner with only 4 people. Alive or dead, famous or common. Who are they, and why? Well, Rob, that's an interesting question. I mean, it kind of throws up a whole bunch of, well, practicality questions, like, you know, you could say, like, Aristotle or something. But then, I don't really speak much in the way of Greek, much less ancient Greek, so that might not be the best choice. So my philosophy here is to principally put the practical considerations first. And I've made a bit of a list here. I don't actually have any dead people on here. Patrick Moore, he was in the runnings, simply by virtue of being the games master, but I don't think he'd fit with my the rest of the crowd. Because of course, you know, when you're planning a party, you don't just consider your own sort of feelings towards them. You have to consider the interactions between guests. And if you pick an eclectic mix of characters throughout history, it's unlikely they'll get along. And conversely, if you just pick, you know, attractive models, then, well, it's unlikely the conversation's going to be spectacular. Not because attractive people can't hold conversations, it's just... But I'm likely to hold a completely different set of interests to a Hollywood actress, for instance. So I've gone for a slightly humble, slightly realist approach to the list. A selection of people who I would consider to be influences of mine, and some people who are within the same sort of sphere of interest. So first up, we have Charlie Brooker. Now, he's a guy who's on the telly in Britain. He's pretty famous here, not so much in America, but he has kind of an irreverent style, and he's a funny guy. but he also has his roots in video gaming. He used to write for PC Gamer. And he's actually produced some stuff for television regarding video games, which, you know, is a rare thing. You don't get many television programs about video games. Second up, the British comic Stuart Lee. He's one of my favourite comedians, and he seems like a nice guy. Kind of a nice guy. Not like an explicitly nice, friendly guy, but I don't know. I can sense some sort of rapport with his personality style. If nothing else, he would bring a slice of cynical wit to the table. Mind you, Charlie Brooker would do the same, so... Anyway, next up, Violet Berlin. Now, this is a rather obscure one. She actually used to be on a television program called Bad Influence, which is all about video games. And it was one of my favourite programs growing up. Violet was a huge video game fanatic, and she seemed pretty personable. And she's an interesting character, so I'd take her. She's actually, she appears in Micro Machines 2. The Violet character in that game is based directly on her, which sort of shows the level of influence she had back in the day. And finally, to round out the genders, I don't know, I struggled with this one, I wasn't exactly sure. I finally settled on, rounding out the gender count, 2 men, 2 women. I decided on Felicia Day, because I think she's an interesting character. I think she gets painted in a bad light, she's sort of seen as a bit fluffy, but she writes a lot of her own stuff, and she's got an interest in the sort of the nerd culture. I think she'd be an interesting guest. So that's the 4, Charlie Brooker, Stuart Lee, Violet Berlin, and Felicia Day. It's a pretty boring mix. Like I say, if you can go with anyone alive or dead, then, the potential's much greater. But then, I think if you have a dinner party and you invite all these fantastical characters from history, you're not going to have much in common with them. You're going to have a bad time. Anyway, I should probably move on. The more I think about this question, the more I think about changing my answers. The longer I think about it, the greater the temptation to just think, you know what, I'll just pick 4 attractive ladies and invite them over. Okay, Ali McDade says, Stu, have you ever been to Scotland? If so, what did you think of it? Yes, I've been more than a few times. My parents are both from Scotland, so in some sense, I myself am a little bit Scottish. I was born in England, but to 2 Scottish parents. So, I don't know. I mean, there is no true Scotsman, after all, but yeah, by blood at least, I'm Scottish. So anyway, yeah, I mean, as far as going to Scotland, I've been plenty of times. What's it like? It's alright, isn't it? It has a lot in common with the north of England. It's a little bit grim, but comfortable enough, people are friendly, and, there are some other redeeming features. Alright, I think a man says, hey Stu, what is the best gift you were ever given, and what would you do with $1 million? Probably my favourite gift ever given was given to me by my parents for Christmas 1991. It was a Commodore Amiga A500 Plus, and it was probably my favourite computer ever. I've only ever really been a fanboy once in my life, and that was with the Amiga. I was a devout Amiga fanboy, but, I stand by that, the Amiga was a fantastic home computer system. As for what would I do with $1 million, I'd probably, I don't know, I wouldn't make any major changes. I mean, yeah, sure, I'd buy a new house. I'm aching for some studio space. I'd really like just to have, I don't know, an extra room or 2, just to sort of set up and film in. Ideally somewhere, with a fair bit of space. Somewhere where I can permanently set up cameras and lights and stuff like that, and and produce films. Because I'm a bit tight on space at the minute. I'm living in a 3-bed semi, which is fine. There's only 2 people and 2 cats that live here, but as far as doing the grander projects, we're a little bit tight on space. So yeah, I'd buy a house, save some of it to live with, and then just produce videos. I wouldn't change all that much. I might stop doing the Black Ops 2. Well, I wouldn't stop the series halfway through. I'd finish it, But then after that, maybe I'd work on something different. Maybe I don't know, I could do Behind the Lines finally. I'd have the budget for that. Hey, maybe I'd do Retro Ahoy. Maybe I'd do more Drinks Ahoy. I'd try a whole bunch of new stuff, and I'd probably produce videos that nobody wants to watch, but it doesn't matter because I'd be happy. GK Baller 216 says, Xbox Ahoy, how old are you? Your voice to projected age to gaming skill ratio does not compute. I am 30 and a half years old. As far as gaming skill is concerned, well, you know what? After a certain point, your reactions do start to slow off a little bit. I don't have quite the sort of the Twitch reaction speeds of, the younger kids. But, having said that, I do keep well practiced on the old Black Ops and Call of Duty in general. I'm okay at the game. I'm not super brilliant. But I can get the clips. That's all that matters. Alright, Mon Anniversaire says, what happened to your Time to Kill series? Are you going to continue it in Block 2? It's a possibility, but first of all, of course, I have to do a weapon guide series and the attachment guide series. After that, who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll get some time this summer, but I don't know. I think by then I'll be sick of Black Ops 2. Time to Kill may return, of course. It is a format that I may very well dip into, possibly for other games, possibly for future Call of Duties. Who knows? I couldn't possibly say. But no, for Black Ops 2, obviously we're currently doing the Weapon Guide series. Kerzo94 says, why do you say MW2, lol? Well, clearly because that's the cool way of saying it. You know, MW2. I'm not saying it, that's lame. Or worse yet, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. No, MW2, man, that's the cool way of saying it. The Only Surfer Standing says, Stu, what's your opinion on Black Ops 2 Free-for-All? Are the spawns better? No, they're absolutely terrible, and I love it like that. I like terrible spawns in Free-for-All. Really, I do. It sounds perverse, and it kind of is, but you want to have a little bit of close-range tension in a free-for-all, just to keep the action at a sufficient level to get clips. So yeah, you know, sometimes you get killed right off spawn, but then other times you kill other people right off spawn as well, so it goes both ways, and it ensures that the action is suitably fast-paced, which is what I like. Anyway, the clips are coming to a close, so I shall sign off. This week we have the SVU AS, and we have the Quick Draw handle coming up on Sunday as well, God willing. The SVU video is going to be good, I think. I'll have some very nice clips of that, because I recorded for an awful long time. The Quick Draw video is going to be boring. Yeah, sorry about that. Couldn't really do much with it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I shall see you on Friday, Sunday, and then next week for the next bonus footage. And until then, farewell.